Hello. Hello, hello. Good to see y'all. Happy Saturday. Um, yeah, we're excited. We're excited so many people are interested in this session and in work that reconnects facilitation. It's heartening in this moment, in this world. So, welcome. My name is Lydia Violet Harutoonian, and I'm the founder of School for the Great Turning and the director. And I just want to welcome you if it's your first time hanging out with us. In this session, I will lead it along with my co-facilitator, Adrián Villaseñor Galarza. Um, yeah. And Adrián and I actually met this month, Adrián, 16 years ago. Um, yeah. I
Wow.
was thinking about that this morning. So Adrián and I met Joanna on the same day together in grad school at the California Institute of Integral Studies, um, a class called The Great Turning. I think Adrián had more of an idea of what was coming than I did because I had just signed up for this philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness program. And I realized walking into class that I had no idea what we were going to talk about. And I was like, what have I gotten myself into? Um, and then there was a woman named Joanna Macy teaching alongside with Sean Kelly. And um, as soon as she said, and we're going to work with our pain for the world, but she didn't say that phrase out of pity, and she didn't say it, she said it as if it carried dignity, as if there was a dignity and integrity to that. And of course, I immediately started bawling. So here I was, my first day of grad school, bawling. But if any of you know CIAS, you find out that that's pretty okay there and pretty normal. Um, and yeah, so that was 16 years ago. So I've uh, I was immediately drawn to Joanna Macy. I started attending her as whatever of her programs I could, and pretty soon after that, she invited me to start playing violin with her at retreats, where she would just kind of point to me in a moment and be like, "Now play, play." She kind of, I don't know, helped me see that it had a therapeutic quality. Um, and then I've been facilitating for the last 16 years and really kind of started seeing it as my dharma maybe 10 years ago, and then started facilitating with Joanna 8 years ago, and facilitated with her until she stopped. So that's my history a bit. I'm Iranian and Armenian. My parents came here in 1980, but I was born in the States and I grew up in New Jersey. So I'm in the Iranian Armenian diaspora, American diaspora. Yeah, Adrián, you want to say hi?
Yeah. Hey, Lydia. Hey, everybody. Good morning or good day, depending on where you are. Yeah, that's crazy what you're naming about. That's right. At the start of the semester. Yeah. So, hey, folks. My name is Adrián Villaseñor Galarza. Um, I'm here in the traditional lands of the Yakutsk and Mono peoples, saying hi to you today. Though I am from other lands originally, I'm from Mexico, a city called Guadalajara. Um, and I've been here in this country for about 16 years or so. Well, when we started the program, I came for that. And yeah, I was lucky enough to get into that class. And something that I often share this story because it's really stayed with me throughout the years and about Joanna and what drew me to her work. And I knew about her work before when I did my master's over at Schumacher College, and I wrote my thesis around the Council of All Beings and whatnot. That later turned into a little book dedicated to the lovely guide of mine, my sweet daughter. But that day, when we were introducing ourselves, the first day, um, so Joanna named what Lydia had just said, and she also mentioned that we're going to tackle the planetary unraveling and the pain associated with it. And in on her part, that included the recent passing of her 50 plus years husband, Fran. And so that really touched my heart because after she shared that, I wasn't sure if she was about to cry or to burst into laughter or both at the same time. And that really shook my heart, like it really did something to me. We went for a break shortly after, and I told whomever I had around me, like, did you see that? What was happening there? And so for me, in retrospect, what was happening was the widened capacity of the human heart, in this case, Joanna, to embrace it all and to be with it. And that maybe these days we could say that resiliency of the heart, it's trainable, and it's beautifully trainable by through the work that reconnects. So then I said to my people there, like, oh, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to have that superpower. And I don't know. I don't know if I have it, but I've been working on
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a story that I have, and since I've translated the Coming Back to Life book to Spanish through Joanna's invitation in that class, both editions, and that really helped me get closer to her work, and just hang out with her in a way that I was not anticipating. It wasn't planned, and it was so lovely to just be in her presence and learn more from her throughout the years. And I've been doing this work primarily in Spanish for Spanish-speaking communities throughout Latin America. And yeah, so I'm the founder of something called El Trabajo que Reconecta Latinoamérica, right? And so, yeah, so much more to say, but that's what I got. Welcome, everybody.
You facilitated a lot. I facilitated a lot. There's the summary.
Mm,
um, Yeah, so today is an intro to Work That Reconnects facilitation. We're doing this longer 6-month program that starts February 8th. I just put the link in the chat. So this is also to help you get to know us and familiarize you with how we want to approach Work That Reconnects facilitation. But I don't think I need to explain too much why um, we might want to carry the skill of helping others metabolize the emotional, spiritual, and somatic impacts that are challenging of witnessing what is happening in our own lives, in our communities, and in the world right now. That there's a empathic response to existential crises, to convergence of crises that we are learning how to move through in this time, and that there can be a paralysis or a sense of overwhelming anxiety or even rage that comes in. And when that lands on a hyper isolated ego, that can be very challenging to navigate. And I know part of what, I found with the work that reconnects with Joanna Macy's work, I've had a particular passion. I travel a lot. I'm also a musician. I love culture and community, and I'm an extrovert, and I want to meet as many people I can on this planet before I go. So I've traveled to a lot of places and facilitated this work. And I've stayed with it because I feel like I've witnessed the way across many different communities. When facilitated well, I watch it really truly help us um, go from walking in the world with a sense of hopelessness or weakness or paralysis or nihilism or, I mean, whatever the impact can be, to taking that and understanding that that reaction um, is only there because we care about what happens to each other and we care about what happens to our world. And so, how do we continue to love the world in the way we want to? Because we know that's what gives it a fighting chance in these times, while we also understand that we can't predict what's going to happen. So, we have to find our inspirations and our power in uncertainty. And I really find that Joanna's work is able to do that. So today we want to share a couple of examples from our facilitation, and then we're going to talk about the pillars of the work that reconnects as we're going to go through them in the program, and then some pillars of facilitation, and then have some time for Q&A with you, and then we're going to wrap up. It's going to go by fast. So I have a story I wanted to share from facilitating. And I was invited to work with a group of Sudanese women this summer. I traveled to the UK, and I have been working with them online. These are all women who had been in Sudan and had fled because of the war and the violence in Sudan. And these particular women had settled across England and Scotland. And so they reached out to me. They wanted to they wanted to do the work that reconnects, and they were interested potentially in learning how to facilitate it to bring to their communities because they work with groups of Sudanese refugees. And so I was like, okay, I hope this helps. I hope this is a modality that supports what this community is metabolizing. And so I end up going to the UK, and they rent a cottage in the countryside, and it's 8 women plus me in a not very feng shui Airbnb in a tiny living room doing the work that reconnects for 2.5 days. Um, and so um, after we did a truth mandala, which is a grief honoring ritual from the work that reconnects. And then I took them out onto the land and we did a meditation on the land. And as we were walking back, one of them pulled me aside and she said, I've been here for 3 years, and I only now have realized and have the feeling that the land itself isn't political, that the land itself, she's like, I knew it as Mother Earth, but now I feel the land and my relationship to it. And I feel like I have been able to move through some of my pain from this experience that I've had and my community has had and let it go. And I get to have a relationship to this land that's beyond politics. Um, Obviously that meant a lot to me. And also something I'm excited about is 6 of the 8 women who are at that training are joined this facilitator program that we're running. Like 6 out of 8 of them had enough impact of experience that they're like, oh yeah, dope. I want to learn how to facilitate this to bring to my community. So that's just a little seed of inspiration. Adrián, I know you had something too.
Nice. That's beautiful, Lydia. And I'm so
Yeah,
glad
you
that
haven't heard that story.
they're joining us.
I know, me too.
Yeah. So by way of introduction, I want to say that I'm pretty excited because I feel that this training is a long time coming. It was written in the stars, and I'm so glad you reached out, Lydia. So yeah, I have many stories. One of them, I think they're all related to, for me, what has been very powerful has been the offering of the immersive intensives, like 10-day experiences or multi-day experiences. And I'm remembering this one in Brazil, um, where I understand kind of Portuguese. I don't speak it. I speak a few words. So it was Spanish, the Portuguese, them Portuguese back, and me trying to, the whole time. But what happened this time around was very special because it was a big group. It was, I don't know, close to 40, I think. And it was the first time that they've experienced this multi-day format. And it was really powerful. The circumstances, the context, it was very rainy. We didn't have enough beds for some reason, the place. Uh, Although it was very rainy, there was often no water. The bathrooms broke. It was something that was happening there that I was like, oh, okay. And we traversed the spiral throughout the many days, right? And the height of this was happening when we went into, of course, honoring the pain for our world. And it was intense. It was just some experience that I could tell, like, in neuroscience, like the window of tolerance, we can talk about the window of tolerance and how work to reconnect helps expand that. So, but people's window of tolerance were like seemingly being a little overwhelmed, blown out, not only through the work, but because of the actual when, oh, I'm gonna go and take a rest now. And where? You know? And so someone also had a super strong allergic reaction to something that they encountered out there in the wild, and they had to, like, the ambulance needed to come. So I'm just naming this. This is not common at all, but I was sitting with it, and amidst it all, through the work, we kept on with the program, as it was. And it has been one of the most transformative group experience that I've ever guided and led. At the end, the sense of intimate belonging with each other, or like just one of the fruits of this work, the way that I see it, is like we literally fall in love with each other, not in a romantic way necessarily, but in a kinship, sort of like honoring that capacity to be with. And so, needless to say, it was very humbling for me, but at the same time very healing, and very healing, like literally healing for the participants. It was something that I'll hardly forget, because from day one the logistics were all over the place. The interest surpassed by far what we were expecting, so it was a perfect storm combination for this to happen. And I have to report that everything at the end stayed with it. It was just phenomenal. It turned inside out in a way that the earth was truly represented in that human group in the most beautiful, inspiring way for me. So that's I guess a general experience that I wanted to share with you about the power of this work. Yeah.
Mm. But not every workshop's like that. It's not like every workshop just blows it out of the
Not
water.
at all.
Also
Yes.
can be a very tempered but
Yeah.
still impactful experience of the work that reconnects.
Hmm.
But we wanted to bring in the bangers. Um, okay, we're gonna talk about the pillars of our program and then open it up for questions. So as you know, so Adrián and I have known each other for 16 years, and we've each kind of stayed facilitating the work that reconnects, and so over these last months, we've had quite a few conversations about, what are the pillars here of work that reconnects? What is it that, because we really want to help empower people with this work. We are in a vulnerable moment in the legacy of this work where every body of work that has a root teacher will go through this, where our root teacher has phased out of facilitation. Joanna doesn't teach or facilitate anymore. And it really is a transition to the first generation of the community, um, to carry forward this work. And so Adrián and I care about that a lot and dedicate a lot of our energy to that. And this is an expression of that. Um, And so the pillars of our program, which basically, so there's 6 modules that go through the spiral of the work that reconnects. And then each module has kind of 4 primary pillars. The first is that we go through a bunch of the practices that go with that part of the spiral, right? So the work that reconnects is a body of group work. And essentially, a workshop of the work that reconnects has group work practices in it, teachings that go with parts of the spiral or some of those practices, um, some stories that come from Joanna's life and legacy. And we try and, well, I'll get to that later, and meditations. And then some people integrate somatics in with it, visual arts in with it. I often integrate community singing in with it. It's very friendly to those collaborations, which is great. So the 4 pillars are practices, to go through practices with that part of the spiral, to go through teachings, kind of the primary teachings. And when I say teachings, I mean Joanna Macy was a scholar of systems theory, right? So we go into systems theory some, deep ecology, Tibetan Buddhism, very impacted by the second turning of the wheel into the Prajnaparamita, mother of all Buddhas, and her experience community organizing. And from those studies, she synthesized teachings that have become part of the work that reconnects. And those teachings are what Joanna calls brain food. And I know for me, one of the things I love about the work that reconnects is that it's both, that it's heart, it really is a heart mind practice. In my own experience, even as a participant, it deeply nourishes my sense of relationship, my sense of identity, my sense of nervous system capacity, and I like intellectual engagement, but I don't say intellectual to be that's overwhelming as facilitators, because in my experience, Joanna synthesized these, yeah, like scholastic studies, but into these really cool, understandable teachings that we get to then, offer in the world in our own words, but she synthesized them. Like I always say to Joanna, I'm like, you did the hard part. You synthesized the work. I just carry it forward. Um, so we go through the teachings, and then with each module, a set of facilitation skills, um, which we can go into a little bit more, but they might be really practical facilitation skills like time management and active listening. And then they might be other types of facilitation skills like cultural awareness and how to um, help facilitate rubs that might happen in a moment. And then the fourth pillar we're calling eco-cultural identities. I'll go into that a little bit more in a second, but first, Adrián, if there's anything you want to share about um, deep ecology, systems theory, um, uh, yeah, these kinds of pillars and the synthesizing of them into teachings and practices that the work that reconnects is.
Yeah, yeah. So I can add here for the moment that I see Joanna's work as I see her as a pioneer in the engaged Buddhist movement in the West, one of the key figures. And so I think that has to do with her ability, as Lydia's naming, it's a relational, basically, body of work. So connecting the mind and heart. And so he's grounded in very sound and solid and time-tested wisdom, but both from, spiritual traditions and what is called the new paradigm or the new systems thinking. But the what I can say about the integration, what we're aiming for the training is that um, you know, it is as if, as we often say, this was a gift for our time, it's so timely when we experience these practices and connected with the conceptual and philosophical framework that goes with them. That it's very often very easy to go like, oh yeah, this was kind of like what the doctor recommended, like for right now. And I think that has to do with the fabulous synthesis that Joanna has endeavored to create and to put it in a way that is gonna, touch the four pillars of our training here, that it is easily digestible and that it favors the direct experience of the participants, and there is a fruitful, fertile background to make sense of it. So, in the teachings, together with the practices and alongside with our own orientation about the work and how to go about and offer it to our communities. Of course, our own sense of grounding in that has to do with the fourth pillar that Lydia is going to talk about in a moment. But the authentic, open-ended, systemic nature of the work that reconnects allows for you, for me, to bring and activate. Actually, I believe that it calls for that, to activate our own authentic gifts, honoring our eco-cultural background, and then bring forth what's alive in us. And that is what really uh, activates the gifts in others through the practice that we're doing at the time. I'm getting a little bit more into the details that I wanted to, but that's something that I feel privileged being part of, and this training, the way that I see it, aims to honor that legacy as Lydia was naming. And well, I'm excited. That's what I can say right now.
I just get excited talking about it. Um, this is the last thing I'll share before we open it up to questions, but I wanted to talk about the eco-cultural identity piece and say a few more words about that. Um, so I uh, I have developed a body of work called Tending the Bones. That's another program, and in that program, students study folk traditions from one of their ancestral cultures, understanding that we live often in majority diasporic spaces where a lot of us don't live where the majority of our ancestors spent their time, and that there's a cultural severance that happens there. It's usually on a spectrum, it's not usually just looks one way, and that there is some benefit to meditating on that and and so we have that piece, and then the second piece is that I have experienced in my own organizing for the last 20 years and being a part of a lot of conversations around justice and equity, that for myself it was still really anthropocentric, like very human centered in identity work. And I found myself, because I'm a Work That Reconnects facilitator, I mean, one of the primary shifts in identity that happens in a Work That Reconnects workshop is that you go from being a human walking on a dead planet, or at least a separate planet, to being the earth humaning. I am the earth Lydiaing. I am the earth reaching out to you right now and saying, do you want to train in this body of work to work with other parts of the earth that might be struggling right now? There's a shift in identity that comes in that seems to be very helpful for the human spirit right now. And I was craving that in some of the identity spaces, you know what I'm saying. Um, and so I also, in combination with that, have studied with Adrián Marie Brown in Emergent Strategy, which is a land-based and Octavia Butler-based organizing strategy, and then just did a 9-month immersion with Weaving Earth, which is an excellent land-based program that integrates basically like justice as an ecological act. And so I felt that I wanted to find a framework and develop, you know, a framework for working with privilege and power and identity that was rooted in our ecological existence primarily, and then looking at our cultural emergence, and then looking at um, other identities as well. And so that's, you know, I don't think I can tell you, and this is exactly what it's going to look like, because this is uh, something that, I mean, we have a curriculum and we have a framework, but this is, and I will also say that there's a guideline that I have been integrating into my facilitation since the last 2 years. And that guideline is practicing pivoting from punitive dynamics to restorative and rehabilitative dynamics. And that I, as a facilitator, have a responsibility to try and help pivot that if it comes in. And I brought that in because I also was starting to have a lot of conversations with people about how, in certain ways in our liberation work, we say that we're abolitionist in nature and in opinion, where we want to abolish a punitive justice system, yet at the same time, and very understandably, because it's from historical trauma and pain that we carry in our psyches and our bodies, and from current harms that are happening that we're trying to stop, we can fall into punitive dynamics in our group work and in our identity work. And at the end of the day, we need to kind of humble ourselves and be like, is that really getting us to the community liberation that we're trying to work together for? Um, and so the answer for me and for many other facilitators and just, community members that I know, has been to find a way to pivot that dynamic and really try and practice a restorative justice lens um, when working with power and privilege. So the eco-cultural part of the curriculum really is an integration of all of those things. It's very exciting to me. It's very exciting to Adrián. It's very exciting to Joanna. I've talked to her about it a few times. And yeah, so we're going to bring that in. So like I said, each module um, has these 4 pillars. We go through the practices, we go through teachings, facilitation skills, and this eco-cultural curriculum. Adrián, do you want to say anything else before we open it up to questions?
Yeah, just briefly, something that excites me about, honing or celebrating, developing facilitation skills around this work is the felt experience of embodying this work to the point where, so I'm going to share with the story simpler. I asked Joanna about 7 years back. I was in her house there, and I just came back from a round of teaching in Mexico and I think maybe Chile at that time. And I was like, hey, Joanna, can I ask you something? And I was like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I feel that I'm not doing much and it's still happening. Am I making it up? Am I like, what? There's not a lot of effort involved, basically, on my part. Uh, and she just laughed as usual. And she was just like, oh, yeah, no worry. That's absolutely, you're doing it right. And so, as a short version of the systemic intelligence that gets unleashed with these practices, especially, and this is my point, including the facilitation, as opposed to other bodies of work, you are part of it. You're invited to have this dual awareness of being part of the process and at the same time overseeing it in a way, or at least preparing the terrain for things to take place, to unfold in according to their natural beauty or intelligence, right? So that's what I wanted to convey to you, that's something that I've seen it happen in me, in my colleagues, in others, through this work in a very beautiful way. So through the interaction of these pillars that Lydia is talking about, I feel that it's going to do a great service in nourishing that sense of transparency, of grace, whatever you want to call it, for that bigger thing, being here, the living earth, perhaps to flow through us. That would be the goal of facilitation in this work for me. So yeah, wanted to add that. Thanks.
Adrián, I just love the way you talk. I could just I could just listen, lay down, and like poetically charge up by the way that you speak and synthesize teachings in your own way. I'm yeah, it's exciting. Okay, we want to, if you have any questions, either about facilitation or about the program, please feel free and feel free to share your name and maybe where you're at. And yeah, we would love to answer any questions or hopefully answer any questions. Kirsten?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Lydia. I've been in your bones class, and I really just love
Yeah.
I love where you're taking this work, and definitely interested in participating. I also have a son who's 25 who's doing ecocultural restoration type of work, and yeah, he's on Vashon Island in Washington State, and I'd really love to share this download with him. Are you going to share a recording
Yeah.
of this? Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And then I'm sure there'll be more information coming about all the details and the timing and everything. I just saw you on,
You just popped.
I just popped. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad I did, because this ecocultural restorative component is really important. And I, as a white
Yeah.
privileged woman doing this work, have a lot of like, yeah, there's just a lot of considerations about white saviorism and how do I cultivate brave spaces with people who of other cultures, and do my own cultural work to show up as fully as possible. And so I think
Yeah.
what I'm hearing is that you're going to dive deeper into that in this offering. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me say one thing about that. I think it's really important for all of us, no matter our racial identity, our hetero identity, our economic, to understand in our bodies that just as there are oppression and oppressors in our ancestries, there is humanity in our ancestries. Um, Human beings all over the world have always at least preserved humanity and community in small pockets, at least in small pockets. And that preservation of humanity, um, especially under oppressive regimes, which often oppress certain populations in their own communities. And so my hope is that everyone can leave this training in, on one hand, being able to understand how to deconstruct and um, uh, presence in a communally supportive way their own power and privilege, and on the other hand, carry with them a sense of the humanity that is carried in their legacy. Because through Tending the Bones, which I've had 1,200 students now who have all studied folk songs and folk stories in their ancestries. And what I have seen so clearly is that there are legacies of humanity in every community and culture. And that resistance is an ancestral skill. And we can draw on that as we also want to be a part of slowing harm in our time and cultivating life sustaining systems. So that's what I'll say about that for now. Yeah. Thank you, Kirsten. The other, Kirsten Bolton.
Usually I'm
Oh,
the only
and
one.
first, Kirsten, I put the link to the program in the chat and we'll email it out too. Yeah.
This is wonderful. And I attended an info session about tending the bones and was very inspired. I just am finishing up a master's in education called Transdisciplinary Studies in Healing Education through Antioch University.
Amazing.
It's really, really cool. And I am a Waldorf teacher, and I've been a nonprofit leader for about 20 years as well. And I'm now in the final round, hoping that I may become executive director of a pretty large school. And I have gone through my interview process directly using these kinds of concepts, talking about leadership based on facilitation and collaborative healing work, place-based, like community connection and ancestral reclamation. And I was surprised that they are flying me out to potentially move into that role. So all that just to say, I'm so interested, and my background is also in Latin America. I did my undergrad in Mexico and lived and taught in South America and Central America for years. So I'm just so excited about the combination of you two as facilitators in the earth-centric model. But I know right now I'm writing my thesis and applying and potentially moving, and I know I can't add another thing. Right, currently I can't commit to 6 months, but so is there a website? Are there short bits of resources and information? I'm definitely doing facilitation now that seems to tie in, but I know I could learn so much more. And then will you be offering this again with the same collaboration of you and Adrián?
What do
Yeah.
you think? We
Hey,
gotta see how the
Kirsten.
first one goes, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I
gonna
hope
think
so.
out loud here from the heart, but I hope that I think it's our hope for Lydia and I to do this often, but it really depends on this time around too. I'm very excited, like you, Kirsten, about the combo. I think it's a beautiful one, a needed one, that you won't find very at each corner. But Lydia can tackle the other bit, which about the website. I have a website in
All
Spanish.
right.
I'll put it there also in the chat for you and for whomever's interested. And the other bits about, yeah, information. You have a bunch of information and other tidbits there, Lydia, right, in your school?
I do. I do. I mean, so we have plenty of courses, pre-record like recordings of like there's a course on the website, a deeper look at the work that reconnects, and it's 3 sessions on deep ecology, systems theory, and Prajnaparamita. There's also a course from the past called In Her Words, which is with Joanna and me, primarily Joanna, and it's going through a bunch of her work. But I will say when it comes to facilitator empowerment, we were doing like half day and we just stopped because I was like, I want to get into it. I and I will say, like Joanna made the book open the work open source, meaning she was like, you need this work in your community. Feel free to pick up the book, Coming Back to Life, and like pull it out as you need it. So we're not here saying you need to do the training to facilitate. And I will say, like, I think Adrián and I both really care about certain things in the work not being lost because of being intimidated, like the teachings, and then certain practices not becoming the practices, and then we don't do the rest of them, which it just would take time to go through things. So, yeah, it's a balance. Thank you. Jory?
There we go. Hi.
Hi.
This is so exciting for me. I'm Jory Martinez, and I'm living in Oakland, California. I just moved here in July. I was in the work that reconnects in St. Louis. No, yeah.
Oh,
St.
oh, cool.
Is it St. Louis?
That I did
No, yeah,
with
was it St. Louis or Nashville?
Kara
No,
Bender.
St. Louis with Kara. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Several
yeah.
years. And
Oh, yeah.
it was so beautiful. That was such a beautiful day. Um, So, and I just got my certification in nature forest therapy guiding, and I lead something called Interplay, which is headquartered here in Oakland. And I am working in Thailand and leading retreats there. And this is the piece, like I have a lot of the pieces that you spoke to, which is really so exciting to have it all in one place in the spaciousness. I would love, my question is, I would love to hear you talk about kind of the framework bones of like the commitment in terms of, I know the first
Oh,
day is
mhm.
February 8th, 6 months from 10 to 2, but across the 6 months,
Yeah,
like, so that
thank you.
I can answer that
Yeah.
question myself too.
So we try to find a balance of making it engaged and accessible and flexible. Um, Primarily, that first session is required because we want not everyone has been a participant in a Work That Reconnects workshop. And a lot of the times you find facilitator um, trainings and stuff that require that you've already done the Work That Reconnects. And we were like, well, like what if people don't have access and like so basically the first session on February 8th we're like please be there. There's a couple people who have done the Work That Reconnects a lot that we're like okay fine, like you've done it, we know that you've experienced it, but it also helps cohese the group, and we all move through it together. And then after that, so there's 2 live sessions a month. They will all be recorded. You can technically just view the recordings. You could come to half of the sessions live and then view the recordings. Of course, when you come live, you get to engage and ask questions and stuff. But, I have some people who they're going to be offline for a month and they really want to facilitate the Work That Reconnects and they're signing up and they're going to watch the recordings for that month. And then we're going to put everyone in 5-person practice groups and you just organize amongst yourselves the time when you can meet once a month and you basically rotate practicing facilitation. So that's the like that part. And then we have a group forum that's live that looks like social media. So most people know how to use it really easily. It's on the Circle platform. And then we have readings that we try and assign a balance. Adrián is a grad school professor. I am a backyard teacher, right? Like I have done the Work That Reconnects on goat farms and backyards in Alaska with dogs everywhere, in living rooms, in cottages in England, and also retreat centers and stuff. And so we find the balance of how much reading to assign because I'm always like, let's not overwhelm them. And Adrian's like, but there's so much good stuff. And then we have these like short snippets from Joanna Macy herself, like from past times that she has come to my classes and talked about facilitation. I used to run a facilitator group that met up twice a month, and she came to that. So those are the logistics. And I want to talk about the scholarships. So um, the scholarships have mostly all been given out and just want to acknowledge like most of them went to people who don't live in like who live in depressed economies. And that's what happened with the scholarships. So we really wanted to make this accessible to folks who don't even have the option of making, being able to pay what pays us a fair livable wage. And please know that the reason why it's priced the way it is, and we give out so many scholarships, but it's priced the way it is to pay us a fair livable wage and our guests, right? John Seed, Bronte, Rebecca Hart. So, but we've made it. I always try and offer a payment plan to make it more possible. If even that 6-month payment plan is too much, like, but you want to do it, you can write to me and be like, "Can I have a 12-month payment plan?" I will make it happen. So, yeah. Rachel and then May.
That pretty much answered my logistical questions, but I'm
Word.
just really excited. I've done I was in the first Tending the Bones group back in the day when that started.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember sitting on my front porch swing during COVID lockdown and just being transported. And I feel like I just feel so grateful for this opportunity. I feel like this work has been like percolating for a long time, just being in the School for the Great Turning and learning. And every time I learn from you, Lydia, and every time I like metabolize a little bit more of Joanna's work, I feel like something more expansive and like connecting to that sort of cosmic intelligence of the universe that is so expansive. So I'm so excited and grateful for this opportunity to learn and grow and meet new people and just bring this work into the world in my little corner of southwestern Pennsylvania. So I'm really looking forward. But my questions all were answered in the last person.
I just want to take a moment because I think we can get really like in the like, what are we going to study and what are those? But I feel like you're presencing the vulnerability of gratitude for this person and this work. These times are, there's saying we're going to live through the great unraveling, and then there's living through it. And the impact that that has on the part of us that wants good things for ourselves and others in the more than human world, which is a very, very beautiful, tender part of us. And that part has to live through every day, and we carry it. And God bless everyone in the world who is doing work that supports that. And God bless this woman, you know, who's the root teacher of this work. And she gave the world a gift. And now we get to carry it. We get to try and evolve it well. And we're just really grateful for that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, one more. May. Hi, May. What's up, girl?
Hi,
Hi.
hi. Wow. You just like touched a really tender part, but my question actually also got answered. I just wanted to just take a moment to say I just had the deep, deep privilege of being in person with Lydia and Leah and attending the Bones retreat. And if you are on the like edge, should I take this training or not? I have had the deep privilege as a social worker and therapist to learn from amazing facilitators and amazing teachers. And Lydia is one of the most incredible people to be learning all that she has shared today. And I'm so excited, Adrián, that you are here. I also am starting to work at La Casita, which is a social-based organization in Louisville. And I was trying to figure out how to use this work in Spanish. And I'm so grateful for you that you translated it from your native tongue, because there's some very complicated things that I wasn't quite sure how to translate from English to Spanish. So thank you, Adrián. I'm so excited to dive into your Spanish translation of this work. And I just wanted to say I just signed up for the training, and I already was about to sign up. And then when I heard that the Sudanese women you worked with are coming, that just like tipped me over the edge. And so, and also listening to both you and Adrián today. So if anyone here is thinking about it, take the leap. It's going to be a transformative 6 months. And I can't imagine a time more important than now to be learning these things. So I hope to see whoever does come. That's all. I just wanted to say thank you, Lydia. Working with you, listening to you
That means a
transforms my
lot
life.
to me. Thank you. That means a lot. But I really do try. I really do try and be a good facilitator.
You're doing it. You're more than trying. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm totally
Adrián,
jumping in.
Yeah. Okay.
And I need to sign off, but I will send you an email with a proposal for remuneration, because it's never
What does
enough.
that mean?
Payment, tuition, paying a
Oh,
tuition.
oh, oh.
I'll
Okay.
need some support as
No problem. Great.
I'll
Just
share with
write
you
to
all.
me.
And I'm just so
Okay.
grateful to meet both of you. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm hella excited. Oh, also, just so everyone knows, there's only 15 spots left. We are capping it at 40. So I will say, if you're thinking about it, maybe be swift, because, you know, we're capping it at 40 so that, you know, it's like this. We can talk and share and get to know each other and hopefully really have an impact. Adrián, do you have anything you want to share in closing before I close us out? Uh-huh. Cool. I see that there's really important things happening in Adrián's
All
world.
right. Yes, so I just got whispered what I should say to you.
Okay.
Which is, yeah, I'm very excited for this, Lydia. And I just to express the level of honor and gratitude that I feel for this work and what has done for me. That is the the chief inspiration for me to offer this, like what I've seen that has put me straight in so many ways, and attuned to the cultural needs of our time, to the historical, the spirit of these times that calls for linking hands, this widened capacity of the heart to just embrace each other, and touch base at our shared humanity, and see what's there. So yeah, just wanted to appreciate each of you, and I'm really looking forward to this journey, Lydia, with you and with everyone else. So I am grateful, and honored.
Me
Yeah.
too. Adrián and I facilitated at the end of that semester together. We got so Adrián is my first co-facilitator in the work that reconnects. And we both got invited. We made friends with someone in the class who was teaching at Berkeley Community College. And he was like, "Do you want to come? The class is 55 minutes. You want to come do something? Try something from this work?" And we're like, "Bet, okay." And we went in and we wrote the Rilke quote on the board: "If we surrendered Earth's intelligence, we could rise up rooted like trees." And we just turned to the group and said, "What does this mean to you?" And that was it. That was the beginning of both of our facilitation. So it feels very right that we are doing this together and crafting this together and offering this together. And we'll send you the link and the recording of this and all the info again. You can email me at care@schoolforthegreatturning.com, where you're getting all the emails from, with any questions. And we'll see some of you on February 8th. And thank you. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your care for yourself and others. Yeah, we rely on it. So I'm grateful for it. And yeah, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Feel free to come off mute and say bye. We like to hear your voices.
Thank you.
Bye,
Gracias.
everybody. Bye.
Sending
Thank
you hugs,
you.
Lydia. Sí,
Qué
muchas gracias,
bien.
Adrián. Cuídense
Thank you for
mucho.
all your work.
Adiós.
Sí.
Adiós.
Adiós.
Adios.
Yes.